I've just discovered my new favorite international business class airline. Join me for more than 10 hours on board this Finnair Airbus A350 from Los Angeles to Helsinki.
Hello, jet setters. I'm Jeb Brooks from greenergrass.com. Right now, I'm in LA, but I need to make my way over to Helsinki. I'm flying with Finnair for the first time ever. Join me as we check out this service.
Anytime I'm in Los Angeles, I do my best to squeeze in some time to head to the In-N-Out Burger at the end of runway 24 right. There's always plenty of action and tons of other aviation enthusiasts. Tonight's flight will take 10 hours and 25 minutes to cover the 5,600 miles from the west coast up to Helsinki. We'll fly up to 43,000 feet. And after not enough time out here, I made my way over to the Tom Bradley International Terminal to start the trip.
There are three main reasons I'm excited about this particular trip. First of all, it's Finnair, my first time flying that airline. Anytime flying a new airline is awfully exciting. Second of all, I've never flown from the West Coast to Europe, so that's an exciting change just in terms of the timing. And then third, and this is strange to say, I think Finnair has the most beautiful drinking glasses in the sky. So I can't wait to check those out. But let's get checked in.
I quickly made my way over to the Finnair ticket counter where I waited. There was some kind of a glitch with their computers, and that meant we couldn't check in on time. But thankfully, I'd arrived really early, so waiting was not too much of an inconvenience. This was my first time coming to the Tom Bradley International Terminal, and I was so impressed. This is what all international airport terminals should look like.
This place is incredible. This is my first time in here. It's so beautiful, but I'm headed up to the Oneworld Lounge. That's the lounge that passengers on board Finnair have access to.
The Oneworld Lounge is a large but intimate feeling space. There's plenty of seating, but no views of the action out on the airfield, which is a real letdown at a place like LAX with so much to see. There's a full bar and a large buffet here. Soon, though, I craved views of our aircraft, so I headed downstairs and over to our gate. As the sun set behind this majestic A350, I felt a thrill that only comes from an international long-haul departure. I joined the line to get on board and made my way over to my seat for this nearly 10.5-hour flight. I was in 7A. It's a beautiful seat with everything you could possibly want on a long-haul flight, which is good, since that's key to Finnair's business model, but more on that later. Finnair recently unveiled a new seat design, and after how impressive this one was, I can't wait to try out the new and improved version. But for now, let's explore this seat. First, there's no air vent, which is too bad, but it does have an individual reading light, a remote control, seat adjustments, international power socket, and a USB charge point too. There's a cubby to store the headphones, which were provided for use during the flight. Now, I did not find them until later in the flight. They were hidden away in another storage compartment. I was glad to see that the airline put a bottle of water here for us. That's always a nice touch. Each passenger is provided with slippers and bedding. You'll also get a pillow, and there's a coat hook too. We were soon offered a pre-departure beverage, and for some reason I often get comments saying I'm not drinking it.
Cheers. I took a sip.
Welcome aboard this Finnair service to Helsinki. Flight up to Helsinki will be about 10 hours, 25 minutes, maybe 30, depending on the departure route from here. Should be fine weather on departure. I hope that you'll be comfortable aboard with us and that you get some rest along the way as well.
takeoff.
We made our way out to runway 24 left, and soon left the California coastline behind us as we turned to the northeast toward Canada, Greenland, Iceland, and eventually Finland. I mentioned earlier how this was my first departure from the West Coast for Europe and that it would be different. Leaving from the East Coast means a relatively short flight of 5, 6, maybe even 7 hours. But tonight's longer time frame meant I could really settle in and enjoy all Finnair had to offer, while also getting a solid night's sleep before an afternoon arrival into Helsinki. It's a much different way to travel than I've ever experienced. Have you done it? Let me know in the comments below. Do you prefer the shorter flight or the longer one like this when you're heading to Europe? Sunset was stunning behind that absolutely incredible A350 wing and engine. And that meant it was also time to truly get comfortable. I plugged in my own headphones and checked out the in-flight entertainment. The cameras on the system are fantastic, and I sure wish even more airlines would adopt them. With plenty of options, I settled on Grumpier Old Men. The sequel, it's never as good. And with a hot towel in hand, I soon pulled out the medium-sized tray table, very appropriate for a business class seat. The amenity kit was extremely basic, but hey, at least there was a toothbrush and an eye mask. I count those as the most essential elements for a long-haul flight amenity kit. Nuts and an Arctic Blue gin and tonic were the perfect pair to kick off the meal service. Now, I was right. These glasses are so nice. They've got great weight and texture, such a simple but immediately recognizably cool element of the Finnair experience. Unfortunately, because of a shellfish allergy, I couldn't have the shrimp appetizer. But the main course soon came, and I had chosen the chicken, and I'm sorry to say it was disappointing. There just wasn't much food here. Maybe I would have said something else if I'd been able to have the appetizer, or perhaps it's just my American appetite and expectations, but this simply was not enough food. The Southern Ocean Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand was a nice addition. Thankfully, a second course, or maybe a third, I guess, dessert arrived. I had the mousse, accompanied by a single malt. And by that point, it was late. Time for bed, so I converted my seat. The footwell is a little tight, but not too bad, and there was enough shoulder space up top, mostly because I'm a side sleeper. All that being said, I enjoyed a solid 6 hours of deep sleep before I woke up over Iceland. It's incredible to see our planet from this angle, isn't it? I headed all the way to the back of this Airbus A350. Finnair's economy class is arranged in a 3-3-3 configuration with seats that are up to 18 inches wide and offer 31 inches of pitch. There's also an economy comfort cabin with an additional 4 inches of pitch. This flight was pretty empty, and I'm hoping the load factor increases as more and more people return to travel. I got back to my own seat, which offers 21 inches of width and 78 inches of pitch. I settled in again, and it was at this point in the flight that I found the headphones Finnair offered. I wasn't sorry to have failed to discover them until now. I still prefer my now discontinued Bose QC20s. Internet access was available. 1 hour cost nearly €8, and the service was fast enough for messaging, but that was about it. But with views like these, there wasn't much need to stay in touch with the outside world. I mean, this is just simply mesmerizing. Whereas dinner disappointed, breakfast more than made up for it. This was not only a lot of food, but also really very tasty. I often read comments saying airlines don't give good breakfasts or that a tasty onboard breakfast just isn't possible. This is proof positive that just doesn't have to be true. I also discovered the duty-free shopping channel in the IFE, which included the opportunity to go home with that very own set of Finnair sparkling wine glasses. Sold. Finnair is working to make Helsinki a bit like Dubai and link Europe with the rest of the world. The geographic position so far north enables them to offer connections between east and west, although current events in Ukraine have made that a little bit more challenging. They've invested heavily, though, in making their onboard experience as comfortable on long-haul flights as possible, and I'll have to say, I was impressed. But before long, our approach into Helsinki's Vantaa airport began, and you know what that means. It's time for the unscientific JebScore, in which we rate this flight using 5 critical factors to the long-haul business class experience. We'll look at the lounge, the seat, the food, the in-flight entertainment, and the service. First, the lounge. The Oneworld Lounge had everything you'd want in a business class lounge. Now, hardcore aviation enthusiasts like me will miss the views. It's not like the space doesn't impress, though. This is a 4-star lounge. Second, the seat. Well, it's spacious, comfortable, and offered a fantastic bed. Everything was conveniently located, and there was enough storage. As I said earlier, I'm excited to try out the new business class seat, but for now, this one, well, it still earns 5 stars. I'm torn on the food. I wish there'd been more protein at dinner, but the airline shouldn't be penalized because I just can't eat shrimp. It was good, and the breakfast was even more proof that airlines can do breakfast well. 4 stars here. The IFE was great. The moving map was crisp and contemporary, and there was a solid selection of movies across many languages. And the cameras are industry-leading. All in, this earns 5 stars. The service was spot on. When I mentioned in passing I was interested in duty-free shopping, it was in the middle of the breakfast service. I fully expected the crew to get back to me once they'd finished. But instead, they took a brief break from what they were doing to take care of my request. They were upbeat, eager, had passion for delivering world-class onboard service. This was a 5-star crew. So all in, that leaves Finnair's A350 service from Los Angeles to Helsinki with 23 out of 25 possible stars.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Helsinki. Please remain seated and keep your safety belt fastened until the safety belt sign has been switched off.
Between now and the next time, see you in the sky.